Hi everybody. Today I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a lesson which incorporates a big transitional movement, and I wrote about this in my website and also in my blog. Transitional movement is a movement where you change your orientation, say coming from lying down to sitting or coming from sitting to standing. So this is going to be about trying to figure out how we come from lying down to sitting and how we can do it easily and how we can make it so that we really use all the laws of physics to our advantage. And we will learn that there are specific stages to getting up, to pushing ourselves off the floor. And when you know the stages, it can help you when you have pain or when you have discomfort. And even if you're feeling very good, it will help you because then you know how to do it better. To do this, the first part of the lesson will be a softening of the pelvis, of the lower back and of the chest area to prepare you for the lesson so that things will go easily. So please come to lying down on the mat and just take a moment to notice how your body is lying on the floor right now. Do you feel that one side of your body is lying on the floor more heavily, or that there is more contact? That one side of your body has more contact with the floor than the other, so notice that. Then take a moment just to breathe into your lower abdomen, which is very calming and also helps us to release a little bit of tension in the lower back. So we breathe in normally, but we focus a little bit more on the abdomen. We think about bringing oxygen to that area. That doesn't mean that the rest of your chest doesn't move. Of course it does. But we breathe a little bit more into this area and bring more focus to it, so that the front line of our body is long. And now take a moment just to notice how your shoulder blades are lying on the floor. If one is lying better on the floor than the other. If one feels more floating and the other more grounded. And notice your legs, your heels, your elbows. And now please, we're just going to do the following. We're going to bend the right knee a little bit towards the right, like we want to fold our leg to the right, and we're going to pull our right foot, our right heel towards the right buttock and bring our leg to standing. So now the knee is facing the ceiling, and then we straighten the leg downward. And we're just going to do that. So we're going to take our right leg to the right a little bit, fold the knee, bend the knee, stand the foot on the floor, and then straighten the leg out. Very soft, very gentle movement. So this is not very complicated, but I would like you to take a moment and pay attention to your pelvis. So if you can maybe touch the two bones, the iliac crest, the two bones of your pelvis that stick out, where your pockets would be usually. And notice that, keep your fingers there, and notice as you bend your right knee to the right, your pelvis tilts a little bit to the right. And then you stand your leg and your pelvis is in equilibrium and you straighten it out. So just notice that. Keep noticing what is happening in your pelvis. And keep your breath soft and flowing. So you become more and more focused on the leg and on the pelvis and what it pulls. Something is being pulled. Perhaps your eyes and your nose would like to go a little bit towards the side as well as your knee. Your right knee comes to bending. Maybe your nose wants to follow the movement. Let it. Okay, last time. Okay, so that was just a little warm-up. And now we're going to do it the other way. We're going to stand our right leg, but we're going to do it the other way. That means we're just going to pull our foot towards the right buttock, and the entire time the knee is facing the ceiling until your leg comes to standing, your foot comes to standing. Then you let your right knee fall outward and you stretch through the side down. So again, you bend your knee, but you keep your knee facing the ceiling till your foot comes to fully standing. Take your right knee out, and now you feel the tilt as your right knee comes outward, and straighten your leg down again. And again. And see what do you prefer? Which part is easier or more natural? Which is the better way for you to stand your leg? Last time. And now come to rest for a moment. See how your right leg is touching the floor. If perhaps you feel there's a little bit more contact with the floor with the right leg. And now let's please do that with the left leg. So you bend your left knee to the side a little bit, and at the same time you pull your foot, your heel towards the left buttock. You stand your foot on the floor and your knee is facing the ceiling, and you straighten your leg, just that. So we're just going to do that in kind of a flowing motion. And you can start to pay attention to the tilt in the pelvis that creates. But also start to pay attention what that does to your lower rib cage and to your abdomen. So let that be involved. Let the upper part, the part above your pelvis, also be involved in the movement. Maybe you can make it a little bit faster, a little bit easier. See if your head wants to move in the direction of the knee. Maybe the head, the eyes, the nose want to join the knee. Last time. And now you do it the opposite way. You bring your leg to standing, your foot on the floor, by just bending your knee straight towards the ceiling. Stand your foot and then let your knee drop to the left and down. A few more times like that. And notice where you feel that in your back. Because as you're moving your legs, your back is reacting. Just maybe start noticing how that happens. And if you can keep it soft, keep your upper body soft. Easier said than done. Okay, last time. And now rest for a moment. See where you feel a change. If you feel any change now in the way that your body is lying on the floor, where is the change? Is it perhaps in the middle of your back, the way that the middle of your back is lying on the floor, or is it in your pelvis or in your legs? Usually we feel the area that has changed the most. And I just want to reiterate that this part of the lessons where you stop and you rest is not really resting, because there's a lot of awareness. You're starting to notice things in your body, and that is work. Take a 2 breath into your lower abdomen. If you want, you can start feeling the front line of your body. Okay, and now come to standing, please. Come to standing, both your feet on the ground, on the floor. And now you want to play with both legs. So one comes to standing and the other one also comes to standing. It takes a moment maybe to find a rhythm. So you do one and the other. And you play with it a little bit. And the idea is to find a pleasant rhythm. Feel how your pelvis tilts. Notice what your head wants to do. Does the head go in the direction of the knees that are folding, or does the head go to the side of the pelvis that tilts downward? And try to notice what this does to your back. There's a lot of pulling and stretching happening in your thorax, in your back, in your rib cage, of course. And now change the side. Kind of play with it. It's very individual. Every time I do this, it comes out completely differently. Doesn't matter how it is. Just play with it and feel that the the back side of your pelvis is kind of getting a bit of a massage, getting a bit of a interesting rolling on the floor, let's say. All right. So let that be. Just lie on the floor. Notice if your legs feel perhaps a little bit more alive, perhaps they feel a bit more connected to the pelvis. See if you can release the musculature of your face, especially the jaw. There's a lot of tension in the jaw. I think I can see nearly for everybody. It's very common. So you want to notice, are you clenching your jaw? And if you are, then it's a moment to just kind of let go. And now please come to lying on your left side. If you can put your head on your left arm, which would be stretched out, that would be good. If not, you can also do it this way. You can have your left arm somehow lying on the floor in extension of your left shoulder. If you can put it on your head, that's good as well. And just come to being folded on your left side comfortably. Your legs are folded, and importantly, your right hand is standing next to your chest, and you want to put your right hand in a place where if you wanted to put weight on it, it would be a good place. So some people like do this or start looking for, so this would be too far away, this would be too low. So you really want to have your hand lying palm on the floor, and you really want to be able to use it soon to push into the floor. Okay, now I would like you to try and do a mental exercise. You start to think about coming to a side sitting. You think about what would you want to do with your body to come to a side sitting position. Start to feel there's a part of your body that wants to move. Don't let it move yet, but you start feeling some blood flow to the muscles. You can feel it. And then start making a micro movement. Like, what would you want to do with your body to start coming into a sitting position? But you make a very small movement and then you release it. It feels a bit bizarre, but it's an important part of the exercise to break down the stages. And by the way, this is a little bit individual. The stages are the same, but some people start in different areas. So just notice what feels right for you. So see what you want to do as a micro movement. You're starting to want to come to sitting, but you're not doing it yet. Let's do that one more time. Just like a small movement. All right. And now the next stage, we're going to take a small rest. And on the next stage, I want you to start to come onto your left elbow. So that means you're not really sitting and you're not really lying down anymore. Do it very slowly. And start to come onto your left elbow. There. So this is a position which is between lying down and sitting up. So that's a stage. Now we're going to go back down. So we're going to make this movement reversible. When a movement is good and fluid and well organized, it's easy to reverse it. So we're going to find a good way. Everybody, you find a good way for you to come back down. Something that feels good, that's easy. And we're going to do it again. So notice what you're starting. What do you want to start with? So we have a few options. We have pushing into the floor with the right hand. We have lifting the head. And we have the pelvis that wants to shift downward towards the floor. And how do we do that? And what are you doing? So we're taking something that is very instinctive and analyzing it. And come back. Come back to lying down on your side, fold back up. And again, before you start, think where do you want to start? Where's the movement? Where's the muscle? Where do you want to go? And then do it. And then the movement becomes very intentional. And when your movement becomes intentional, there is awareness. And then the functionality becomes easier. Come back down. So now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it a tiny bit more quickly. We're going to do this 2-3 more times, and just a bit more quickly, so it's a bit more instinctual. But please notice your head. As you come back to lying on the floor, are you looking at your hands? Or is your neck stiff? One more time. Notice your head, notice your neck. Is your neck stiff, or can you let your neck go? This is not easy to do. Last time. See now, oh, before we go back down, please notice, how is your pelvis right now? If you look at your pelvis is no longer vertical. Your pelvis is in an alignment, it's a diagonal. Because let's remember that sitting is bringing your pelvis on the floor. Okay, so come back down, take a rest now. So that was stage 1. Stage 1 and 2, because thinking about it is stage 1, executing the first part of the movement is stage 2. Take a rest, take a breather. Feel how your left rib cage, left side of your rib cage is perhaps connected to the floor. There was a lot of movement in the rib cage, right? Notice your breathing, notice how much your chest opens when you breathe in. And now we're going to go to the next stage, and we're going to not just come up to the elbow, we're going to come up a little bit higher. We're going to have our left hand on the floor. So you're going to do the same thing as you did before, same. But instead of really leaning on your elbow, you're going to continue the movement, and you're going to have your left arm straight, and your left palm is now on the floor as well. So no longer the elbow is your base of support, now it's your left hand. So now already, if I look at my pelvis, it's much closer to the floor. So already I'm practically fully sitting, but not yet. And then we come back down. Notice what you do to come back down. Let's reverse even this tiny movement. I'm about to go back down. No, I decided I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. Okay. So these little parts, they help you to know how you're doing this complex movement. Changing orientation is complex. Again, notice what your head is doing. Okay, now we're basically sitting, but not fully. Let's go back down. Notice, could you go back down just by sliding only your left hand on the mat? Could you do that? You could. Would it be comfortable? Would it be useful? Probably not. So notice how you want to put your right hand back on the floor, and then now you want to release the weight of your upper body onto the floor, and you're sliding back down. And one more time. Now what you can do is just fold your right leg backwards. So now you're in practically a full sitting position. But we're not yet fully sitting, because I don't know how it is for you, but the right side of the pelvis is not yet fully on the floor. My right sit bone is not yet fully on the floor. And that would be, the final movement to sitting on the floor. Now you might not want to sit cross-legged, you might want to just stretch out your legs or whatever it is that you do, but full sitting is when both sides of your pelvis, including your sit bones, are on the floor. Okay, so let's go back from this position. So you're sitting, and please again try to think. What is the first thing you want to do? You're thinking, okay, I want to get back to the floor. There's my floor, right? We're doing it on this side. Of course, we could do it on that side too. What is it that you want to do? Now your pelvis is heavy on the floor. Your pelvis is the base for all your upper body. And now you want to find a way to release that pelvis from the floor. You probably want to do this in one way or another. And already my pelvis is no longer fully on the floor, right? It's already up. And now I put my other hand and I slide back down. So let's just do that a few more times. Just come to side sitting. Take a rest, and you may notice that this is actually kind of tiring. If you do this long enough, it's quite tiring. And now come back to sitting fully. Take a moment to sit. And now I don't want to go through the other side. I just want to remind you, if you want to explore it on the other side, it can be very interesting because it might feel very different. So do try what you would want to do if you did the other side. Now is lie on your right side, be folded, and then slowly start to think about the movement before you do anything. And then you want to slowly make a micro movement, feel where you want to start the movement. It might feel quite different. Your organization may be different on the other side. And then you go from a micro movement to leaning on your right elbow. And then you do that a few times. You reverse the movement. That's very important. You come up, you come down, you come up, you come down. And once you've been doing that for a while on your right elbow, you come to putting your right hand on the floor and your right arm is straight. So that would be the different stages, just as a reminder. But I think I will leave it on one side, and now I just want you to come back down to lying for a moment on the floor. See which part of your body feels really heavy now, or heavier. So in my case, suddenly, woof, the pelvis really sank into the floor. Notice if that's the case for you or something else. And take a moment to take a breath. Feel your abdomen and your lower part of your chest rising up from the floor. As you breathe in and out, it comes back down. One more time. And now if you have decided that you want to work only on one side, it's very interesting now to come to a standing position and walk around and see if you feel different walking, if one side of your body responds differently to the walking. So that can be interesting if you did just one side. So do come to standing and do walk around a little bit and see how that feels. Okay, so this was an exploration into transitional movement, and I hope that kind of getting to know the stages that you go through can make it easier for you to maybe think about making that movement easier for you the next time you do it. Thank you for joining me, and see you next week.